You're listening to Warwickshire Wildlife Trust's podcast from the Hideout Bird Hide at Brandon Marsh Nature Reserve. I'm your host, Bob Hockenhull. Getting outdoors into nature is often cited as one of the best things we can do for our well-being. The NHS says there's growing evidence that getting people into green and pleasant surroundings boosts happiness and decreases anxiety. Well, joining me now is Anna Wright, the Health and Wellbeing Manager with Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, and with her is Dionne Sambrook from Escape Arts, which is a creative health charity. Well, Anna, if I can ask you first, why do you think the outdoors is so important to our well-being?
Principally it's because it's where we live and it's where we've come from. It's what is our background as human beings. From a very basic perspective, it gives us the fresh air that we breathe, it gives us the shade that we require, it gives us fresh, clean water, and it's the environment that we rely on to thrive. From a day-to-day perspective, it has the ability to bring us a sense of calm. We're not designed to be in busy environments with square lines all the time. We're more designed to be outside in more natural sounds and spaces. And there is, as you say, growing evidence that spending time outside in even the smallest of pocket parks has the ability to reduce stress hormones and to improve our overall sense of well-being.
And I guess because most of us live in an urban environment these days, it's perhaps become a little bit more difficult to experience being in nature, hasn't it?
I think in part it's the fact that we're far more urbanised, but I think it's also busy lives mean that we're rushing from one thing to the next, not necessarily always taking some time to spend just quietly in nature and enjoying the sounds and sights around us. Our senses can be so busy all day, answering the phone, dealing with emails, rushing from here to there, picking up children, cooking the dinner. That busy lifestyle is necessary for a lot of us, but actually taking some time just to relax outside is better than taking some time to relax inside.
And Dionne, I know your charity encourages people to get out to help them in their well-being, I guess. So tell us a little bit about what it actually does.
So one of the things that we've encouraged people to do is actually do some meditation or forest bathing. So it's just to go outside and be very in the moment and listen and look around you and slow down, because there's lots going on everywhere. But even if you're in a wild or any green space, actually, and it feels like there's not much happening, if it's just slowing down and taking time to notice, and you'll see and hear and smell and spot so many things. Yes, so that's one of the things we encourage people to do. And also to go out and do creative activities outside. So when you're looking at nature, to actually take that as inspiration for different creative activities, such as writing poetry or drawing, painting, making artworks. So that's something that we've done in collaboration with Warwickshire Wildlife Trust.
Do you think people's work benefits from doing that?
Yeah, absolutely, because there is so much that can inspire you when you're outside. So just now, all the bird song that we can hear sitting in here, or the rustling of the leaves, that can inspire you to write poetry or choose certain words or write some prose. Or just looking at the shape of a simple leaf is really interesting when you start looking at the detail of it. And then you can use that might inspire some artwork, or you do some simple printing with it. And if you start looking at the detail, there's just so much to absorb you and interest you and inspire you.
And Anna, Dionne mentioned forest bathing there, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, is an idea that has come from Japan.
Correct.
Yeah. And is that something now that the Wildlife Trust is encouraging?
So it's something that actually we've got a partner that's currently running some forest bathing sessions at Clouds Wood and has had a really good uptake. It sounds really technical and like perhaps you need someone to go and lead you to do that. But actually in Japan, there are some led courses, but it's also just about encouraging people to go and spend time in a woodland. It's not a hike. It's not supposed to be a mission from point A to point B. It's not supposed to be a cardio workout. It's really supposed to be tuning into your senses. So Dionne just mentioned, sight, sound, smell, really switching off the kind of urban context of that and tuning really into that forest environment. We've got some beautiful woodlands across Coventry, Warwickshire and Solihull that are there for people to go and enjoy, Clouds Wood being one of those, but also Wright Wood. Some really fantastic spaces. If you just took the time to stroll through, how you'll feel when you come out the other side of that woodland to how you felt when you went in, I can guarantee you will be different.
And I've heard of the phrase green prescribing. Is that something that the NHS are now actively doing? Saying to people perhaps who are suffering from anxiety or something like that, go out into a woodland or something like that?
Yeah, so nationally there have been social prescribing projects. How it works in different areas differs. In some cases there might be a voluntary organisation that's leading on the social prescribing projects, but the idea of social prescribing is that GPs are able not just to prescribe medication or perhaps physical exercise through physiotherapy, but actually social activities, and part of that is green prescribing, and that might be prescribing to a gardening project, it might be prescribing something that Dionne is running through Escape Arts, or that perhaps that we're running. And it's just to try and get people to think about their well-being as a bigger picture, and what kind of apps can I build into my daily life or my weekly programme that could add something to how I feel at the end of that week.
And Dionne, the people you've worked with, have you noticed a big change in them after they've been with you for a while?
Yeah, absolutely. So recently we worked with the Wildlife Trust on a programme called Arts and Nature, which was actually commissioned by Warwickshire County Council. And we ran a series of short courses all around the county, specifically focusing or targeting people that have low to moderate mental ill health. We invited them to come to lovely green spaces, some woodlands, some town parks, so urban green spaces as well. And we'd spend typically 6 sessions, weekly sessions with them, where we do different activities, including forest bathing or other creative activities. And as part of that programme, Coventry University were actually commissioned to do an independent evaluation. So we did quite a lot of surveying of all the people that attended the sessions, as well as the practitioners that led the sessions or supported them. We did some surveys, wellbeing surveys, to see what level of wellbeing people were at the beginning of the course. And then we did the same survey at the end. And the academics at Coventry University did all their statistical analysis, and they actually found that there was a statistically significant improvement on people's well-being, even after just a short 6-week course. But also talking to the people attending the sessions, you could tell straight from the very first session that they were having major benefits to being there. Quite often they needed a little bit of support in coming to a new place, and we guided them about different activities. But the feedback was incredible from people, saying they just have that space to be calm, or to notice things, a distraction from all their everyday worries, and then just to learn some different techniques such as meditation or sketching or anything like that then they can use that in their everyday to continue supporting their wellbeing journey.
Is it something, though, that you could do by yourself, just get out into nature and benefit just as much? You don't have to be with other people, I guess.
Well, I absolutely think so, because I walk my dog every morning around the local woods, and it's such a special, lovely time, just me and the dog and whatever's around. And I have to admit that I'm always disappointed when there's someone I know that I'm going to have to speak to, because sometimes just having that lovely space for yourself, and where you can think or not think, or just to spend that time is hugely beneficial.
So Anna, you work for the Wildlife Trust. Some people might be surprised that your role is to help people, because we always think of it as helping animals.
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. It's probably one of the key questions I get asked. Why would the Wildlife Trust need a health and wellbeing manager? The reason that I do my job is because I fell in love with nature as being a young child. I remember spending time playing in the woods, and it was phenomenally important to me. And I've grown up wanting to give back to nature because it gave me something, and I value it, and I still value it now. And I walk in nature daily. I encourage my family to take time to walk in nature. And I think by people having the opportunity to connect with nature, truly connect with it and benefit from it in a way that gives them something back that they hold and cherish, they're more inclined to want to look after nature into the future. So although it might feel like I'm working with people, and that's a strange thing for the Wildlife Trust to do, my driver is to help those people really truly connect with nature, to cherish it every day, and then want to give back to nature, to preserve it into the future for their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and on and on and on.
It's also important that people are connecting with each other as well, and you've got that shared interest and passion, and it's building on that. That's really, really important. So obviously back in the pandemic when we had the lockdown, there was a huge crisis with mental health because of people being isolated and lonely. So if you can connect people, but you can connect them in a green space, and you can connect a passion and a desire and, wanting to do action, it's just the benefits are huge.
I mean, if someone was listening to this who perhaps lives at the top of a tower block in the middle of Coventry and might have more difficulty accessing nature, what would your advice be to them?
Well, it is surprising what nature there is on your doorstep if you go looking for it, because even if you're on a tower block, there's probably going to be some green spaces very local to you, and they may initially look quite uninspiring, and it's not going to be a beautiful forest or a woodland or a wildflower meadow, but there might just be a little copse of trees, or there might be a hedgerow where there's some birds and things, and or even a dandelions growing. If you start noticing things and you start appreciating the beauty of them, then you can start enjoying them more, and you'll get those mindfulness and benefits of noticing and being in the moment.
Adama, do you feel that there needs to be more done at higher levels, say the government, to encourage people to get out into nature for their well-being?
I believe so. I think nature is fundamental to public health. It provides all of our essential services. It has the ability to nourish our souls, but also keep us fed and watered and looked after. And I believe that should be prioritised. I think having equal access to green spaces and quality green spaces is really important. And there's disparities between communities at the moment. And one of the things the Wildlife Trust would like to see is that everybody has equal access to quality green spaces to improve their daily lives.
And considering that the NHS literally spend billions on supporting people with mental ill health, if you can prescribe going out into green spaces and divert all that money away from medication or other medical interventions, then surely that makes more sense, because there's all the other benefits of introducing green spaces or removing the barriers to green spaces or having them more availability to everybody everywhere. So.
I suppose some people who live, say, in the scenario that I mentioned before at the top of a tower block in Coventry and have always lived in an urban environment might be a bit nervous about going out into nature. Is that one of the things you think one of the barriers we've got to tackle?
There are a lot of potential barriers, especially if it's someone that is suffering with anxiety. But that's why organisations like Warwickshire Wildlife Trust and Escape Arts are here, because we all provide a really safe space and we'll guide and support people in that journey, and we'll do everything we can to remove barriers. So if they're worried about where to go, we can tell them where there is a nice safe space, and we can meet them there and guide them around and help them achieve whatever it is they want to do.
And from your point of view, Anna, is there any information you can give to people who are listening who would like to benefit more from green spaces? Can they find out more about how they're able to do that? Or do they just have to get on with it and do it themselves?
No, absolutely. There's lots of information out there. Depending on which local authority area you're in, you can have a look, and it will give you a list of the premier parks that you can access, which tend to be the most regularly visited and therefore probably feel the safest for people to go and access, because will be a lot of other people around. But it'll also have a list of woodlands. You can visit Warwickshire Wildlife Trust website, which has all of our nature reserves listed, and there should be a nature reserve that's accessible and fairly close to you if you're within the county. We also have a list of our own activities within green spaces that you can come and join, including volunteering and health and wellbeing activities, as do Escape Arts and lots of other charities that exist across Coventry, Warwickshire and Solihull, who are providing, as Dionne said, a safe space for people who perhaps need a group setting to begin with, to build up their confidence to go out and use the great outdoors whenever they want to.
Yeah, and Dionne, you mentioned the 5 ways to wellbeing earlier. Can you tell us more? What exactly are the 5 ways to wellbeing?
Oh, well, that's a really helpful model of things you can do to support your own individual mental health and wellbeing. So there's 5 different categories. Connecting, so that can be connecting with other people. There's also being active, so that is getting outside and doing any level of physical exercise, which could just be a gentle stroll outside because sometimes that is a big step to take. There's also learning, so that's just discovering more. In terms of what we're talking about today, that could be just learning a little bit more about the nature that you've come across and identifying plants or the birds that you see around you.
Taking notice.
Yes.
That might be noticing how nature makes you feel in terms of your senses as well. So you might want to switch one of your senses off and switch another one on. We tend to be led by our sight, and actually one of the really great ways to take notice of nature is to turn your sight off for a minute and just use your sense of touch or sound, and you'll experience nature in a completely different way. And the last one, which is a big one for the Wildlife Trust, the environmental movement in general, is to give. And that might be giving back your time, volunteering either through us or with another local environmental charity. It might be giving back to nature in your own way. It might be putting some bird seed out in the winter when you can tell that they're starving. There's lots of different ways we can all give back to nature, and in turn it'll give back to you.
Anna and Dionne, thank you very much for talking to us. Really interesting ideas there, and I think you're probably right. A lot of us have become very detached from nature, and obviously from what you're saying, it's much better for us if we reconnect with green spaces. So thank you once again.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome.
You've been listening to Warwickshire Wildlife Trust's podcast with me, Bob Hockenhull. If you'd like to find out more about the Trust, visit our website at warwickshirewildlifetrust.org.uk.